These are the Georgians who make the law, but do they own it? The General Assembly is suing this man in federal court because he dared to publish all 50 volumes of Georgia law online for free.
America is based on the idea of an informed citizenry because ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you don't know what the law is, you can't obey it, but also you can't change it.
Carl Malamud's publicresource.org is the defendant in the copyright infringement lawsuit filed by the General Assembly.
In America, the law isn't owned by governments, it's owned by the people, because it's the people that give authority to the government to operate. The people own copyright on the law.
These 50 volumes make up the OCGA, the official Code of Georgia Annotated. The state's official law books contain all the legislative acts, plus public court cases and attorney general opinions. Lawmakers claim putting those annotations together amounts to a creative work, one the state has copyrighted.
There's only one law in Georgia. It's the official Code of Georgia Annotated. Every act in the Georgia Assembly begins an act to amend the official Code of Georgia Annotated.
The 11 Alive investigators asked to inspect the law books under a measure contained within them, Georgia's Open Records Act. The Legislative Council denied our request, suggesting the law is available at many libraries. We had trouble finding the law at 3 local branches, including the Central Library in Georgia's capital city. There's a set at the Public Law Library directly across from the state capitol, but cameras aren't allowed inside without an order signed by a judge. Atlanta's main library keeps its copies out of sight in a back room, where we had to request special access to photograph the volumes, some 6 years out of date.
It just doesn't make sense in an internet era to say you need to travel 30 miles to the county seat to look at the 50 volumes of paper, and that somehow is making the law accessible to you. It isn't.
The Legislative Council wrote we could purchase the law for $378 like anyone else, but warned us not to publish Georgia laws on 11alive.com. The OCGA is, quote, copyrighted by the state of Georgia and shall not be republished without permission. No such permission is granted here.
That response reflects every attempt we've made to get documents from state legislators. Transparency means we get to see government documents from every agency, from the dog catcher to the governor. But the Legislative Council always replies, your request is denied. Were you aware the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I was not, no.
Were you aware that the General Assembly is exempt from the Open Records Act?
I did not know that.
But ask to see any documents from a legislator and you'll hear from their lawyer, a lawyer you're paying.
What is this about?
About transparency, like open records, things like that.
I'd rather not. Part of my concern is I'm a governor's floor leader, and so I don't want to. I want to make sure that I'm answering questions consistent with what the administration would want me to, and since I don't know what the question is, if you want to give me the questions, I'll be happy to.
So you want the questions in advance?
Here's how lawmakers avoid questions about their documents. The General Assembly is not an agency under its own Open Records Act. The legislature let itself off on a technicality, one few lawmakers are interested in fixing.
If it ever came up for a vote that the General Assembly would be subject to the Open Records Act, would you be in favor of that?
I just have to look at the legislation. You know, the devil is in the details. If you want to give me the topic matter, I'll be glad to. Unfortunately, I got to run in here as well.
Exactly what you're taking a picture for?
This is a public building, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they saw our cameras, Legislative Council staff was sure to draw the blinds to prevent the public from seeing the keeper and defender of the legislature's secrets.
It's the people that own the law. And it's the people that own the legislature. We are all servants of the people when we are in public service, and we just can't forget that.
Since we first investigated this story in 2016, Georgia won its lawsuit, but that was overturned by the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, which said Georgia's annotated code is the law which belongs to the people.
So this story, this investigation is actually part of the Supreme Court case?
Yes, Faith. The state is arguing that its annotated code is easily and readily available, something we disproved in our investigation. And this email from the Legislative Council here in Georgia saying we couldn't republish the law without their permission will actually be an exhibit presented to the justices in December.